So just sitting tight right now. Still not interested in SkyQ. So PCSA is a US company. I'll just let it sit for a second. The 200 moving average is at 464. It's always a question, whether or not these will hold up and keep going or if they're going to reject. So topping tail forming right now. We have an update we're working on to get the news faster on some of these. But just sitting tight right now. This one's come back down. A shelf registration is typically bearish. I'm not interested in VIVK. Oh, you're welcome. So just sitting tight right now. We'll see if there's any news at 8, 8:30, 9. The momentum has been a little closer to the opening bell, so I don't mind being patient. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Michael. The Warrior Trading Store. Let's see. There you go. Well, I looked at the PCSA headline. It seems like it's a merger with a private placement. I don't know. Um, an acquisition. Not really sure. Market doesn't seem very interested based on the chart. AMIX is very thickly traded. DFNS, too expensive. STFS from earlier came up towards 6, almost was looking good, and then came all the way back down. So yeah, sentiment has shifted a bit away from U.S. stocks, but um, I think that's just the current theme. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. I don't know about that, if that's really a statistic or if that's just kind of like an impression or feeling that he has. But um, yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of like the phase of trading where you're making some money, but you also sometimes get into a rut, have a setback for a month or 6 weeks or longer, and then kind of get back. That's sort of like, I think, maybe the more one of the more early phases of trading, before you're able to get your emotions dialed in more and get your strategy dialed in a little bit more. And then I think you can expand a little bit beyond that in terms of profitability. No, not really. Only if I'm in like a really heavy position do I kind of get more, you know, feel that more physical response. I did trade yesterday and I posted my recaps on YouTube. So right now, exercising patience. This might be a no trade day, or we might end up getting a great catalyst at some point this morning, or something, maybe not even a catalyst, but something that starts to pull away. It becomes obvious. No, I wouldn't say Wednesdays are have any like theme of being slow. We can pull up my metrics here and look over the last 10 years or so. Wednesday's actually my most profitable day of the week. Mondays are the slowest, and then Fridays are the second slowest. But I think part of that is because on Monday I kind of am like, all right, let's break the ice. Then Tuesday I scale up. Wednesday I'm like, all right, I'm really in a groove. And then Thursday, taking my foot off the gas a little bit. Friday, we're going into the weekend. So there's some psychology around how I manage each week. Every day is Wednesday. Maybe we do. You're welcome. That is a big move there. So now we're up considerably. But you could see we're whipping around a bit. So our high a day is 310. We're all the way back down to 255. So we've got our high candle there at 310. So just watching this right now. 1 minute candle high 310. It's pulling back a little bit. Feels like it's churning a little bit under this level. It keeps popping up to 90 and then dipping back down in the 80s. So if it goes a little lower, then anyone who's long up here in this area, hoping for the breakthrough 310, might end up bailing out. If it does break through 310, you may get a little profit taking from people who are in this area. So definitely a nice pop there, but I'm not sure if we're going to get more action. It's starting to get more thickly traded and getting a little heavy. Well, and S3 recent shelf registration. A lot of these companies do have a shelf registration, but still, it can indicate that the company may be interested in selling shares to raise money. So, shelf registration just on July 8th. So that's very recent. I mean, yeah. They've previously did a $300 million digital asset strategy, which probably isn't going very well right now. Notice of delisting. It's a risk. So, this speaks to sort of some irrational momentum. I wouldn't complain. I mean, it's great to see. Uh, Not quite confident to take that trade, but this seems to be kind of the way this one's moving is that, you get a sort of pop, a deep pullback, then another pop, then a deep pullback, and another pop. So probably as soon as it broke over 275, that would have been a spot to potentially punch it. But it just flashed to 342, but is now back below 3. So ideally, what we would want is for it to be holding over 3. So it proves it can hold the previous resistance, which was the high of 310. And if it can't do that, then I think that that's going to be a problem. But this is good. We've got a 100% mover that, is indicating there's definitely some momentum in the market. So I'm pleased to see this. So in 10 minutes there, we got a 100% move. Nice job. Nice work. So I'm not as inclined for this area because we're underneath that 310 spot. If we were holding 310, then I'd be looking for a squeeze through 350 and 4. But because we dipped down a little too much, now maybe that's the theme of the stock that it dips down. It went below VWAP here, so maybe it just dips down too much, and then it still ends up working. But it's hard to make good money on topping tails because you got to be in and out so quickly. So I'm just going to leave it alone. Wait for the next one. AMOD on the low float scan there, but very light volume. Headline: just U.S. company to announce corporate development initiative to enhance long-term shareholder value. Doesn't feel super significant. So yeah, that does become a pivot. MACD is close to crossing negative, and we still have those big sellers at 3. So I almost wonder, I mean, with the recent shelf registration, is this a company that's like selling, 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 and then they stop selling for a minute, the stock suddenly opens up, and then they start selling again. So it's like they're putting the brakes on things. It feels like because there's just a lot of selling right at this level. So when they take the brakes off, the thing can open up, but they're keeping the brakes on most of the time. And we won't know when they're going to take the brakes off. The investment bank that's potentially doing the offering, if that is what's happening, and I could be wrong, but we're trying to draw conclusions or create context around the price action that we're seeing. The price action right now is it's very heavy at 3. So H.C. Wainwright, these underwriters are the ones that would be actually pressing the sell button. I mean, some of them are an offering where it's direct to an institutional investor, but others are sold on the open market. Well, their intention isn't that they're trying to hold back a strong stock. Their intention is they're trying to sell shares to raise money, and that's their goal. Yeah, companies don't do it themselves. They don't know anything about the market and how to do that. So they have investment bank um, relationships, and it's the investment bank that gives them the money from the offering. It's the investment bank that gets the shares, and it's the investment bank that sells the shares on the open market or to institutional investors or whatever the case may be. I think if they can convince a institutional or some investor to take a big block of stock, that would be a quicker way to get $5 million or whatever it is. But some of these companies, it's going to be hard to convince investors that, oh yeah, we got this company in Taiwan, kind of does seafood, but also does a little bit of AI. Could use 5 million bucks. You can get the shares for 50% on the discount on the current market price. So it's like, yeah, there's people that have an appetite to do that, but that's pretty, at a certain point, if they run out of that private capital, then they have to just dump on the open market. And even that private capital eventually will probably sell those shares on the open market. They might be restricted in when they can sell, but eventually they will. So I think the theme of a foreign listed security making a big move is still um, correct. A Lightspeed Roth. I mean, I don't know. Now that the PDT rule is gone, I don't know. Maybe just a couple $1,000s. You could, give them a call and find out. So we tried VIVK, but it really the other day, but this is all the backside right now. No, I don't like Robinhood. I tried using it. It's really not very good software for day trading. Stack is sort of another one of these dead cat bounce type of moves. Because the move was just a couple days ago, yeah, I'm not sure. So NCRA, getting another little pop there as it comes back up towards VWAP. But now the MACD is also negative, so I think it's got more of a headwind. All right, so we've got about 20 seconds here to the bottom of the hour, 8:30. So the five pillar scanner is looking for stocks that are have the right price, float, relative volume, and percentage gain today. It does not require news. So you got to double check to see if it has news. But the stock also needs to be holding within a certain percentage of its range, or it'll fall off the scanner because it's no longer looking very good. Um, you can zoom in on an individual chart or zoom out on an individual chart, and so that's what I do. They're separate. Oh, the window size? Oh, that's just where I place it. So let's see. So these two are placed together. These two are placed together. Um, so they're placed together on the up and down, but not the sideways. So these are sort of in their own little grid. You should be able to control them left and right, unless you're. I think there's a minimum size, but as long as your screen's not too small. I usually do make the daily chart smaller because I don't really need to look at it after I've sort of taken my first look and figured out the levels, like the 200 moving average and so on. So still just sitting tight here. Well, I keep the 10-second chart up. I heard John mention yesterday that he's never used it. But he is using level two. So while he's not looking at the chart for a 10-second, he is looking at and viewing those small movements on the level two. And that's, I think, essentially the um, the same thing. So I started using the 10-second chart to describe what I had visualized on the level two that gave me the inclination to press the buy button. Because people would be like, I don't see it. You just got in the middle of a 1 minute candle. And I said, yeah, but there was actually a little pullback, but you could only see it on the level two. But then when you pull up the 10-second chart, then you could actually see it on the chart as well. So that's what got me starting to use it. And so now I use it more as a probably teaching tool than trading, but I may, I do. I mean, I have it up here, so I do look at it. So just staying tight right now. VIVK, I didn't like this one as much. I sort of feel like it's a dead cat bounce. We sort of had these pops, it sold off. I just think the upside potential on it's somewhat limited. I wouldn't. Well, so the issue with relying on the 10-second chart instead of using level two, yes, I think that would be an issue because a chart is always, I mean, you can't see the prices that are on the at the market that might be causing an issue. Like right now, let's just say the reason this wasn't breaking 75 or 80 is because there was a 200,000 share seller. We don't see that on your chart. So therefore, your chart is a little incomplete. It's a history of what has happened. It's less predictive. I mean, I mean, we use charts to make predictions based on familiar candlestick patterns, but then we also use level two to help aid us in making that ultimate decision to take the trade. Because if all of a sudden we see on the level two that there's a really big seller or whatever, maybe a big buyer, that would change our analysis. So I would not recommend trading without level two data. And yeah, I think that that's a fair point that you could get, if you were trying to use candlestick patterns on the 10-second, you could get false alerts. There could be too much noise. So watching, I'm in NCRA here. I've got a position and I'm looking to add over 350. We're starting to get some nice momentum on this, and this is our obvious leading gainer right now. So added right there. Now looking for the squeeze through 4, added. Now watching this level over 450. So let's see if we can pull away a little bit more. New order up at 4. Added there. Now looking for the squeeze through 475. So this is what we want to see. We're getting some parabolic momentum up here, and just like that, added. Now let's see if this pulls away. So holding 30,000 shares right up here. So watching this area for a dip. Added at 90. Nice job, you guys. So letting this pull back a little bit. Still holding a smaller position here. Watching this area. Watching back over 4. Added right there. Now looking for the squeeze through 415, 425. Let's see if we get that break. So 404 average. Watching. Get back a little bit there. That's okay. Let it dip down. So we got a high of 455 there. $30 million shares of volume. So now do we hold, roughly 350? We'll have to see. Now I gave back a little bit off the top. I think I was up like 50,000 or something like that, but it doesn't matter. Look, 5, 10 minutes there, quick little window. So I added at I didn't realize I was on mute, but I added 295 or 286. I added 286 for the break of three, and then I added it. I think it was 350 for the squeeze to four, and then I added it four, and I even added a little higher than that. So gave back a little off the top, but no, I did. I pressed the buy button manually. We'll have to go back and look at my orders. I don't. I'm not sure now if I added. Yeah, it looks like I added and then I took some profit at 320 and then I added back at 318 and then took some profit, then added back at 350, then took profit, added back at four, took profit. So yeah, I was adding, taking profit, adding, taking profit. SPRC moving up just a little bit. Very light volume right now. I think that's a distraction stock. NCRA is the focus right now. You're on delay data on the Lightspeed demo. I'm almost positive. I was just looking at this curling and that $3 level, and I just thought if we broke that level, 310, and I was taking bigger size just to take like a quick 15-20 cent scalp, and then but then when it popped to 350, I was like, oh wow, okay, here we go. I guess maybe there's some shorts that are covering up here. And then it breaks 350 and goes to four, and I'm like, hello. I'm no, I'm not even sure what comments you're talking about. So no. Um, if you want me to go look, I can go look, and then maybe I'll get angry. But as of right now, nope, not angry. I check comments. I try to, but I don't get all of them. And I have filters to try to filter out spam and the bots and stuff like that. So it's possible if you said a word that is on that blacklist that you'd get filtered out, but and I wouldn't have seen it. So you're looking to invest in a new PC. Well, so I have a couple recommendations. So I have my Falcon, um, which you guys know, the Falcon Blue Ice. But I also have one of these computers, which I like. This one's a little bit more. It's a rack-mounted computer for all the video stuff that I do. So but you could look at that or Falcon. Those would be my two recommendations. But you can certainly find cheaper computers that would probably be good. The Falcon Blue Ice that I have, I have some issues with it. It has two video cards, and they sometimes seem to fight against each other. So I've had some issues with crashing, like what you see with my screen recorder and OBS, and um, but but I'm also probably pushing it pretty hard. You could ask in the lounge. Others might have more recommendations. So we're kind of back in a similar area here of consolidation. I'm not sure what time we might see another move. This feels like it might be premature to expect one here. This sort of broke below VWAP. It really pulled back, and then had that break of VWAP and then that squeeze. So yeah, I don't know. So just watching here. We'll see what this does. So it popped up to 4 and then dipped back down. Got a little dip there, looking for the breakthrough 4. So let's see if this can pop up over $4 a share. So watching 97, 98. Might get a small account trade up here if we can get a break over 4. And then a retest of the highs. So putting my new order up around 410. So let it pull back and then look for another curl up to 4. Watching this 1 minute pattern. Low of this candle right now is 75. So watching down here, off of ascending support. Added there. Now looking for a retest of 97. So we got that first candle to make a new high. We'll see if that pops back up to, actually, I was like watching the 10-second there. The first 1 minute candle to make a new high is just a little bit higher, but still watching this area for the breakthrough 4. So watching off 75 for a dip. So bought the dip down there at 73 and now looking for that pop back up to 85 and 90. So there's 77. Let's see if we can get back up to 85 and 90. Nope, can't do it. So yeah, coming up towards 9 a.m., top of the hour. I use a VWAP on the 1 minute chart. I was looking for the breakthrough 4. So back to sitting tight now. Yeah, the offset is what allows that. No trades in the small account. As it turns out, I probably could have gotten a nice one, but I didn't. Yeah, I think generally it's better for a beginner trader to get out if it's not working right away. Um, I sometimes don't do that, and it's a lot easier just to get out quickly when you've got smaller size. When you've got bigger size, When you finally hit the bid, you get slippage. Like there, I got out at 61, which is some slippage. Sort of got in easily, buying from a hidden seller probably, and then had a hard time getting out without that slippage. So you can see now we're, coming back up to that same 75, 85 area. What I need to see on the level two to see that a level is holding, I mean, I guess I'd like to see that even as it dips, there's a big buyer there, so the price isn't able to break lower. No, we don't. So we don't, as of right now, have it so it would autofill as soon as the stock. Well, I think it would be you would see that things are jumping around a lot. All you have to do is click on the ticker, though. You click on the ticker, and as long as it's linked to your Windows, it'll populate right away. I do have an order to buy through Dark Pools, but I usually don't get filled. So it's not an order that I use a lot because it doesn't usually work very well. So I didn't answer that question about investment opportunities outside of trading only because I wanted to keep the main room on topic. I think NASDAQ total view would be sufficient. I think that would be okay. It's not totally uncommon. So added back there for the curl back through 4, but this time just taking that base hit. So we'll see if it can break over 4. My average is 79. So I sold at 92, but still holding 3,000 shares. So if we break over 4, then I'd look for another trade up to towards 450. So what could happen is we could break over 4, and then there's some profit taking. Some people sell, take profit, whatever. Um, so we need to break over 4, and then we got to hold over 4. So see how we have a little bit of resistance up here. So just watching this area. So some people might think, oh, I'll just take profit at 95 or 96, right? I'm not going to try to wait for this thing to break and hold. And so you're getting some people putting in sell orders under here. So I'm taking a little more profit off the table there, 96 or 95, whatever that was. Put my order on the ask. Now I think we'd want to hold 81. So high a day is 455, but sort of a candle wick up there. So I'll look at the daily chart for a second here. So there's 531, 390, then 720, and a couple of smaller levels in this area. And then a big window up to 18 with a 200 moving average at 14. So down here is our ascending support trend line, which is around 360. So I just drew an ascending support line connecting those lows. We've got the high here. This level of 380 I can get rid of. That was from before. These levels back here, I don't really need any more either. So if we broke this ascending support level, I think that that would not be a good thing. But if we hold it, then we're still within this range. Got about 15 minutes to the opening bell. Yeah, I got a partial fill, so I'm still holding the 342 shares. That's fine for now. So VIVK popping up a little bit. I'm taking a starter down there at 60 on NCRA just because it's piercing that bottoming ascending support line. And I'm just going to set my stop 55 and see if this bounces back up to 75 and 85. And then I might be able to add for a move back through 4. So watching over 375. So see how we tested that ascending support trend line here? That's the entry off ascending support. I'm going to take my profit at 65 for right now. Doesn't seem to be bouncing as much as I thought it might. DFNS is also interesting how it rallied up there. Right back to that double top of 42.48. So that's because of the logic of first in, first out, which is the way most brokers set up your trading. It's like it's a tax thing. All right. Well, let's see. Got about 9 minutes to the opening bell. We definitely got some action on NCRA, which I didn't really expect, but that was pretty nice. It's interesting the way DFNS popped up there a minute or two ago. I don't know what that was about, but now it has a red topping tail with a double top at 42.48. This one yesterday after the opening bell squeezed up, but you had to contend with halts, right? So halting was a little trickier. You had that other one, INLF or whatever it was, that popped up yesterday. That one was not easy. But you got this really big move at the open. So today, we have NCRA, which is a Taiwan company. It's not Chinese, but I don't know. That's the stock that's up this morning, leading gainer. It does have news, so that kind of does change things a bit. Maybe this is just one that you got that big topping tail, and it's just not going to be able to retrace and get back to that level. Um, it had a sort of a shot at it here when we were up around 4. It was like, all right, that's the spot, but it didn't break, and then it sort of rolled over. So I don't know. I guess if it gets back to 4, that's certainly interesting. Down here, I don't think it's that interesting. MACD is negative. It's pulled back a little too much. So I don't know about that one. VIVK, this one's been kind of a grinder. Um, I don't think I'm that interested in that one. So, it seems like we got some moves today. I started to step up to the plate, and then NCRA kind of fizzled out. So I don't know. Maybe you do get action on it at the open. I mean, it is the leading gainer, so people will be watching it. 531, then 720 are daily levels. So if it breaks through 4, but so the halt bands will be every 20%, which is nice. So they won't be super, super tight. It won't be like 15-cent halt bands. It's every 20%. So that means it could go up, 70 cents a share without having a halt. So you might be able to get, some clean action on it. But I don't know. You'll just have to watch to see what happens at the open. It could, go flush almost to a halt down the way we saw with DFNS yesterday, and then it could curl and rally back up. So if you get that surge back up, that's where I would probably be, a buyer for the breakthrough 4 and then a halt up. And then if it halted up, then a dip and a rip up towards 5, 530. If it can hold 530, then you've got room up to 720. So that's like optimistic because I don't know that that's really going to happen. But those are the levels that I would keep on watch going into the open. So John will come on here and give you guys his commentary, walk you through the opening range and the price action on NCRA if it does give some opportunities. So you can tune in for that. And I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. All right, so that's it for me. No trades in the small account today, but green in my big account. Still, in a drawdown from the loss yesterday, but I'm Monday and Tuesday cancel each other out, so I'm green on the week, 23,000 as of today's profit basically. So big picture, I'm green on the week, so that's good, and we'll be back at it tomorrow and hope for another solid day of trading. All right, I'll see you guys in the morning.
Alrighty, good morning. So, it is important to have your rehab trading day after a losing day. Ross is booking his profit and he's leaving. He's not going to keep trading if he's going to respect his rule. And the same thing for all of you. If you're green in pre-market, you can hang out here, but I wouldn't go back. We have 2 more days of the week and then the month's over. And so I'm not expecting too much on NCRA. I think that move is likely over. I have a lot of red lines on the chart, and those are from the daily and the monthly. And so we kind of hit those, and I don't know. I feel like it's probably going to just suffer a little bit at this time, and maybe we can look for a move a little bit later on it. Vivek did pretty good today, but also quite choppy. It's been in this descending support channel, but it is almost failing now. I would leave it alone below 290. And then for NCRA, I would leave it alone below, I would leave it alone below 390, basically. So the levels were for the breakout earlier, 283. And you can see that was a trade that Ross took. And everyone, I think, could have taken that trade. In fact, you could have probably gotten a little early, around 275. There wasn't really anything else going on at the time. So, but this stock basically provided that move, and then also the original curl from the news rally here. So I think two decent trades ideas there on that one, but the rest was probably choppy or not good. So we're going to kind of move on from this one. DFNS has gone up 2 days in a row at the market open, but today, does it go up a third time? I can't technically be bearish on it because it is ascending, but at the same time, I'm probably going to go with no. But it really depends if we hold 43.35. If somehow that level holds up, then fine, maybe. But that is a big level. As far as everything else at the market open here, we're just going to sit tight and let things kind of trade and see how they look in about 5 minutes. So we are halting right at that level, which I'm not a big fan of. Again, I would prefer to have it be above that level and then evaluate it. Resumption showing initially about 43. Vivek falling out of the channel here. Now that you see the levels on NCRA, I'm going to clean it up a little bit so it's easier to read. And I'm only going to keep the most important levels. There was also AMIX from earlier. That has a descending level here in pre-market. 42 was important. It just couldn't hold, but maybe it can do a little bit better. That one has no news, so shorts are kind of hitting it over and over again. Well, Dex, one trick you can do there is sell 75% and hold the rest. You don't have to exit the whole position. Kind of what I'm rooting for is, the eventual collapse of DFNS so people can focus on lower risk trades, less gambling, basically. Because really, if you were to look at your stats, if you're a successful trader listening, your stats are going to show you barely trade a $40 stock at all, maybe never. In fact, for me, it's probably a couple times per year, the whole year. $10 okay, $20 fine, 30 maybe, 40 pretty much no, 50 no, anything higher pretty much no. So as it goes up, I have less data that I'm going to be right. I have really good data, everything else, but above, I don't know, 20, the data starts showing that the losses get really big and the times that you're correct really drop. So the resumption is steady around 43.10. Above that level, I have 52.65 and 60.62. But at this point, you're going to have to use, half dollar, whole dollar. That's a typical strategy that Ross would use when there are no available levels. If you like AMIX, it needs to hold 554. Your target would be the 666, which is a number I hate. There's a resumption on DFNS, and it's getting pummeled right now. So big move there, big range. 43.50, 43.35 was the level that we had. So possibly it's not doing too well because something else went up. So for example, if a lot of traders got into Amex, then they don't really care about DFNS anymore. And so that can sometimes hurt and be an issue if you're trading something wild like that. Officially, we had a bearish outlook on DFNS in the morning. So right now we are correct, despite it halting up initially. Yeah, I think you missed the trade there, Genevieve. I mean, not to say that you, the reality is you missed the trade there. So the next trade idea, well, we're going to have to wait and see. There was a pullback